Hello everyone, welcome back. Now, in the last video we covered who is affected by food poverty, why they are affected and how they can be affected. And if you stuck around until the end, or you read this video's title, you will know that today's topic is how we can help fight against food poverty itself. As we know from the last few videos, food poverty is a much bigger issue than many see it as, and there are many people affected by it. But if you are seeing me for the first time, here's a recap on some of the things I have covered. Globally, 1 in 10 people are affected by food poverty. This is around 3 billion people, or a third of our world population. Food poverty is an increasingly large problem, and there are different types of food poverty such as chronic hunger and reliance on low-nutrient foods. Low-income families, unemployed people, and elderly people are among the most affected. Children are massively affected by the consequences of food poverty in terms of development, and food poverty can take a huge toll on mental health too. Now, if you want to know more, I highly suggest you watch the last few videos in order to keep you up to date in case you get confused here. But if you decide to stick around, I'm not arguing against it. Recap over, what are solutions to food poverty? Many solutions can be suggested to help food poverty, and many of these can make a huge difference if governments would get on board with them. Many suggest simply raising salary to account for inflation and high prices. Others suggest creating more jobs. And some suggest opening more food banks, and others suggest getting better public transport. You get the idea. However, some of these ideas may have very good implications for this issue, but they are just either not very possible or have too many downsides to be put into use. An example of a suggestion which would not fix this issue is just opening more food banks to help feed more people. Now, sure, more people would have access to them, and perhaps some would be able to access more local food banks. But this does not help fight the real problem here. Another example of a suggestion which may not work as intended is simply opening more job opportunities. But to create job opportunities, you need to actually have a reason for that job to exist, as jobs do not just come out of nowhere. However, there are also suggestions which could be very beneficial and have very little downsides. One of these is getting the government to increase wages to account for inflation and high living costs. This would help millions be able to afford basic human necessities without having to skip meals or just to pay the bills. The only issue with this is actually getting the government to do something. There is also another suggestion which I think could actually work. And you may not think so when I first say it, but I promise you that it does have good reasons. Some people suggest getting better public transport everywhere. And this is good for numerous reasons. Reason 1 is that many people do not have good access to public transport, and having access to public transport can help them reach places where good food can be found if there is nothing good locally. Reason 2 is that better public transportation can open many job opportunities for people, not only at the stations, which need to be built and maintained along with the vehicles, but also people having the ability to get jobs which are further away from them. Many people getting jobs will allow them to get the necessities they need with a stable income and help potentially millions of people escape the cycle of food poverty. And reason 3 is that it eliminates the need for a personal vehicle, which is a huge reason many people suffer from food poverty. The lack of public transport forces people to buy and maintain cars they cannot afford, which can, for example, force them to have to pick between eating or getting fuel for their car. And this is especially bad if the car has something that needs to be replaced, which can be extremely expensive for the people. Better public transport completely eliminates that need. Now, the only problem I see with this idea is the initial costs of setting up better public transport itself. But in the end, I see this as worth it over choices such as opening more food banks. But if you have any other opposing thoughts, let me know down below, because I'll be glad to hear. This marks the end of the video though, and I hope you learned something today. If you watched all of the videos, now you know what food poverty is, who it affects, how it affects them, and why it affects them, as well as knowing potential solutions to help fight against this issue other than raising awareness, which I highly suggest you do. If you enjoyed the video, please like the video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to support the channel, as I would appreciate it very much, and it helped me grow the channel and spread the word. If you didn't enjoy the video, please feel free to let me know why in the comments, as your feedback helps me improve. And as always, I wish you all the very best. Goodbye.